Hello and welcome to the final of All Gathered Up. I was just about to go into my spiel about what we do, but technically we're not going to do that today, are we, Carol? But
Save your
anyway,
breath.
if you haven't watched our show before, the lady there in the next screen is Carol Alayne, Master Tailor Couturier, who helps us through the whole series. But as it's the final, there's no demo. We're just going to chat, aren't we, Carol? Good to see
Why
you.
not? Yeah, same here, Stuart. Same here. Gosh, what a quick 10 weeks that's
I,
been. I just feel like the
it,
summer's practically gone
I,
and I don't know. We've both been busy. I know that. You've been busy.
it's
Um,
been really odd in that respect. It's just one minute we were like week three and we were getting into the tutorials, and then boom, suddenly,
mhm.
yes, here we are at the final.
Here we are.
The
Yeah.
final of series 10. We have three individuals, don't we? We have Luke, we have Pasha, and we've Elsa,
Mhm.
and we've gone through lots and lots of challenges to get to here. What do you think, first of all, of the three finalists? When you think right back to episode one, what do you think of them, Carol?
Yeah, from the very early start of this series, I was really struck by Luke and I wanted him to win, from like week three on. I knew that Pasha had this very disciplined way of working. She was technically advanced. Um, and then there was a lot of creative people around. But I thought those two would probably be neck and neck. But I'm just willing Luke to win. So I was really pleased for him.
Oh,
And everybody, actually.
Uh,
Mm.
yes, I think I said. Well, I not think I did say last week with Ting. I was really happy with these three. I could have gone anyway, really, for whoever to win. I just
Mm.
felt connected to all of them. Some seasons, yes, maybe someone has really jumped out and you get really attached to them and you go, oh, I hope they get to the final, I hope they get to the final. And every week is sometimes a massive panic because you're not going to oh no, are they going to go out, whereas this one was
Yeah.
perhaps not so. It could have, I think, even as of week two or even week three, we were saying it's anybody's. And then I think still when we got to week six or week seven, we were going, well, it could be anybody's still. And it's been like that, I think, for the whole season in a way, hasn't it?
It's right. I think the standard's been very high. And what surprised me was in the last couple of weeks, that's when we really started to get to know
Yeah.
the people that were in this semifinal and the final. And I just felt really heartened. I mean, they're all such really nice
Yeah.
people, and the stories of how they got to the sewing bee suddenly just came crashing in on me. And I
Yeah.
felt really, very heartened and interested in them all.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think we'd missed some of that. I think many of us were saying we'd perhaps lost that connection. We didn't get that connection right from the beginning with many of them, and why, I don't know why. Many people are saying it
yeah,
could be because of the time limits, or just the way it's been edited and so forth, or because of
yeah.
the different talents of the sewers. But anyway, there we go. Well, we're going to get into our show. Before we get into talking, we're just going to, for this show, our last show, we're just going to look at all the rounds. Carol always does a demo in previous weeks, but because it's the final, we're here just to celebrate all their makes
Mm,
and not to go into a specific skill. But talking
that's
about
right.
makes, you wanted to have a word about your masterclasses, didn't you, Carol?
Yeah, that's right. I just wanted to say thanks for everybody. It's been so encouraging. The number of people that have just written in and said, "I'm interested." Now we're not ready to formalize everything just yet because there's a lot of weddings to do and there's a lot of tailoring to get out. So I'm going to get through August, and then I'm going to have a little break in September. By
Yeah.
by then I should have the curriculum, and anyway, everyone who's written in to express their interest, you should have received an email back to say thank you. I also want to say a special thank you to all the new followers I have on Instagram. I mean, my account is used just as a portfolio, but I make so quickly. Sometimes I don't even get to photograph things,
Oh,
and I need to get better at that. So um, I'm really grateful. People that are following me on Instagram, my name is Carol Alayne Bespoke, one word. So, and it's just nice to see all the new followers. And I'm going to
Oh, lovely.
try, as I finish, all this stuff behind me. I've got some tailoring up there now. I've got a
Oh,
man's suit for the first time in a couple of months, and I'll just try to get better at that. So thanks, everybody.
it's
And we'll get in touch soon.
I feel for you for Instagram. It is
Mm.
hard because you're in the moment of it. You finished it, and then you put your feet up, or the client comes and takes it,
Mhm.
and then you're like, oh no, I didn't take a picture of it, because
That's
it's
right.
kind of
Yeah.
not. For some of us in the way we work, for these young ones, these 20 somethings, it's in their DNA, isn't it? The phone to take
Totally.
pictures and
Yeah.
to chapterize and picturize their daily life almost. But for us, it's still a
Oh,
little bit. It's
absolutely.
not as intuitive, is it?
That's right. And the tailoring fraternity, there's something you learn about discretion, and it's a non-boastful trade. And
Yeah.
the client, they do the boasting when they wear it out, but you don't you
Yeah.
don't
You
exploit
don't
that.
boast
And
before they
so,
do.
but
Yeah. I was like, get
yes,
you. Yes.
exactly. So, but
Yeah.
I realize that this is the world we're living in, and
Yeah.
a lot of the tailors are in the same quandary. So,
Yeah.
but I will get better at
I
it.
I think what it is, Carol, is there aren't many shows like us on YouTube that actually has a current working in their field master tailor
Yeah.
couturier.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the difference about our show, and that's why we are so lucky and privileged to have you here sharing your skills and your talents and actually doing it. You're walking the walk and walking the talk. What's the expression? It's one of those, isn't it?
Walk the walk, talk, yeah, something like that.
you're
Yeah,
you're
but
doing
it
it, and
does.
people connect with that. So when you then post pictures of your finished work, they're just like, oh my god, that's brilliant, and they would just love it, because we would just love it. I can understand that. We are very lucky to have you doing it. So it's just finding time for it all, isn't it?
It is. I've had great teachers for the last 35 years here in London, some of them at the top of their trade in the Savile Row fraternity. I've been very lucky. And it just so happens that I enjoy enabling other people as well. So it goes all the way back to that first letter to you, Stuart.
Yeah,
It's like, could we
yeah,
do this? Could we help these people on the
yeah,
sewing bee? Because
yeah.
it's missing.
Yeah. But we love it, as you say,
Okay.
we love it. And we know the audience out there love it too. Because can you remember last week's show? It went on a bit, didn't it? It went on for about an hour and 20. And I said, oh God, look at the time. Let us know if you're still watching in the comments. And did you see how many people said, I'm still watching? I'm still watching.
Still here. Yeah, they love to have it on, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's just great. It's a very good formula. So thanks to you,
Oh, thank you.
and
Well,
there
let's
we go.
do one more week, and let's keep that
Let's do.
celebratory thing in mind as we talk about these three amazing sewers who, regardless of all those challenges, they have made it to the final, and they are fighting for their place. So let's have a look at the pattern challenge then. We
Yep.
have the three finalists there: Ailsa, Pasha, and Luke. It's not in alphabetical order, I'm afraid. I just did it per picture. But there we are. And they had to make a set of opera gloves. Now, I've never made a
Yep.
pair of gloves, but I can imagine how fiddly they are because I've knitted a pair of gloves.
Ah,
So
yeah.
when you saw
Yeah.
the pattern, what did you think? I've got the picture of it somewhere here. What did you
Yeah.
think?
Well, I've made gloves. I've repaired gloves. With evening gowns. I mean, when I moved to London in 1988, people wore gloves to the opera. People wear gloves shopping
Oh
and
wow.
hats. And so it doesn't seem that long, but
Yeah.
oh wow, frighteningly it is. But no, I've made several pairs of gloves, and I was taught well
Okay.
when I worked for the Opera House. So yeah, I'm familiar with the pattern. The only difference is that you would put the fourchette. they call it a gusset, but you would put three of them in. So between each finger had its own separate fourchette.
That's like that U shape that goes. Is it?
That's right. Starts
The
very thin, narrow
yeah,
at one end,
yeah,
and then gets thicker, and then
yeah.
goes narrow again as you get to the top of the fingers. So, and that gets sewed onto the trank, which is the big piece.
Right.
The large piece, and then then the thumb piece is the third ingredient to that. Mm.
And off the top of your head, if you were there, what fabric would you have run to grab for making a pair of opera gloves?
Something with a bit of stretch, but definitely I would have stayed away from velvet. But I have to say, the velvet won out, which was surprising. But maybe it had a very low pile on it.
Okay.
But so really, I thought that Elsa chose the best fabric. And of course, we all saw how dangerous it was to work with lace.
Yeah.
Because, you're trying to match. You cut it out, and then maybe you put your seam together. Well, that's just net. And then that might be your embroidered lace, and the two, it's not going to work together. So I really felt when she said lace, I thought,
oh yeah, your heart just sunk. She just knew.
That's really tricky.
Okay,
and then outside of Pasha's, because she's such a deliberate workman, that she's safe and she's very disciplined about things. So the lace is probably just the connection was probably fashionable one.
And they had to make these, but with, what was it? I think the seam allowance was half a centimetre.
Half a centimetre, yeah. So, half the width of your quarter-inch press-a-foot on an industrial, or a very tiny fraction of, an domestic press-a-foot, which is about 3/4 of an inch wide. I don't know it in millimeters. But that's tricky. And there's where your tweezers came in handy, Stuart.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you look at them there, and you were looking at perhaps the judging of it, the ranking, it was probably obvious, wasn't it? Luke came first, Elsa came second, and Pasha was third. That seemed right. There was nothing we could get angry about that. The way the sewers had made their gloves, you could understand why the judges did those placements.
Totally. Yes, absolutely. I was surprised that, if you look at your hand, everything is pointing the same way.
Yeah.
So to turn the thumb around so that the thumb is pointing away, it just tells you how much pressure and the nerves of the the final and all that. But I mean,
how easily it is, because what was it? It was Pasha had two left hands and the upside down thumb. And look at Luke last week with the upside down collar, putting it in upside down and going, oh no, I've sewn it in. I do things like that here with no time limit and pressure of camera crews.
I do things like that. I was making a dress once out of the Voré velvet, which is kind of an organza base, and then it has the velvet pile. And I put everything together on the stand, and then I thought to myself, hang on a second, something isn't right. And I looked at it before I started to sew, and on the front, the pattern was all upside down. The back was right, the front was wrong. I had to go get more cloth. It's like, so it happens.
They are. Don't worry, everyone. Even the pros do it. Well, and it can be done so simply, can't it? You could just lack concentration. You look at something else, and then it just happens, doesn't it? Sometimes I have no idea how it happens, because I'm sure I've doubled and triple checked, but it still happens, doesn't it?
That's why they call it the design of risk, because if you're inattentive, or you have an accident, or you're not experienced, you could ruin the job. So there are a few trades where they say this is the design of risk, because if any of those three things happen, and you're sunk.
Well, there we are.
But if you
Those.
look at them, if you look at, I was just going to say, sorry,
Yeah.
Stuart, if you look at the way they're hanging, you can see that they
Ah.
look like the gloves are in balance and
Yes.
everything's fine.
Yeah.
Else's look like you know, fingers are a little thin. And
Yeah.
then just something not, something a bit mysterious about
Yeah.
Pashes. So,
Yeah.
um,
Okay. So there we go into the
mhm.
transformation challenge, which was a bit of fun, maybe a bit silly. I felt I heard many a groan across the UK. I know Ting, if
Yeah.
he, I don't think he threw many slippers because he was happy for Luke, but
Yeah.
he threw one for this. It's like, what? Party
Yeah.
paraphernalia after the wonderful tie one from last week. How are they going to make anything from this with all those papery bits? But it was supposed to be fun, and we did get that, to be fair. And it is the final, so
Yeah.
it perhaps raised our spirits and took some of the tension away. But they had to make a
I,
wearable outfit. They weren't allowed to use any extra fabric, but they could use anything for the haberdashery. And they had to just make this wearable outfit. And there are our three outfits. We've got Ailsa's flag bunting at the end. We've got Luke's paper napkin, amazing one in the middle, and then we've got Pasha's fab glittery one at the end there on the right. Um,
yeah.
Go on.
I mean, like you said, a bit of fun just takes the pressure
Yeah,
off. But I've got a problem with the word wearable. All of those are wearable,
yeah,
you know. It didn't say you had to have it in your wardrobe and be able to reach for it again and again and again, did
yes,
they? And to me, I really so what? You have to completely dress yourself in it,
yeah,
and there's no fasteners, and you staple it together or tie it in a bow. I thought they were all wearable. I didn't
absolutely.
understand that,
And
or am I just
no,
missing
no, you're
something?
absolutely right. It was for one night, isn't it? It's a party
Yeah,
outfit for
yeah,
one night. It's wearable. You don't need to wear it again. And
no,
perhaps that's where they missed it. And I think Patrick understood that because he did try to comment that on Ailsa's one with the flag bunting there. I think he said, well, you'd probably get rolled up in it. You'd hold one end and I would just twist round
yes,
and then I'd be in
that's it.
it. So I think he was trying to argue that idea that, well, it's still wearable. But yes, I
Yeah,
think sometimes they got that a bit lost in the idea that you'd have to get out of it and get back in it again. But I do agree. That's a good point.
yeah, okay. And I like Luke's comment. Well, that's how you get out of
Yeah,
it. Somebody tears it off you, or it just falls apart, or But it's wearable. I
it's
don't know. I'm not gonna, go on and
yeah.
on about it. But I thought,
What I
it,
liked about Luke again here, he used the same technique from last week, which I think is really clever. Just make fabric. So sew
yeah,
everything together, make your fabric, and then use the fabric to do your garment shape. And that's what he did. He made that. He made sewed all the paper napkins together, and then he was able to make that. It's an amazing achievement, isn't it?
yeah. And who would think to make fabric out of paper napkins? But that's Luke. That's
Yeah,
it in a nut. He's just not. He's not afraid.
yeah.
You know. He's fearless about this. So yeah, I actually liked his quite a bit.
I did it. Well, I just thought there were so many features to it, so many skills shown in that make, and so many sewing skills that you could go tick that one off the criteria, tick that one off the criteria. But I think as soon as Esme saw that wonderful glittering
Oh yes, a bit of
a
sparkle.
shimmer of Pasha's, she just fell in love with it, didn't she?
Oh yes, yeah, yeah. And it's rather special, isn't it?
Yeah,
With the brooch.
absolutely. I'd love
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
But then it equaled it all out. So Pasha got the win there. Luke came second, and Ailsa's third. So we're kind of going into the made to measure now, thinking, okay, right, Luke's got one, Pasha's got one. Is it between those two, or how far are those two above Ailsa? Just because Ailsa was third for both of those challenges, doesn't necessarily mean she's at the bottom as such, because we don't know what the level between first, second, and third is, do we? What the judges are
That's
thinking.
right.
And I think on their
Yeah.
discussion, the judges were saying, actually, well, maybe there's not much between all three of them. So it could have been
Yeah, that's
anyone's,
quite
really.
right. Yeah. And I've always been amazed at what Elsa does for the made to measure.
Yes.
She's made some crackers, you
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah.
so maybe
So
she has trouble with the other two, but she's so creative. And I was really thinking, okay, I can't wait for the three, and
absolutely.
especially Elsa's, because of the way she's come out for that made to measure so many programs in the series and just done something really dazzling.
Well, when I started seeing her make the tartan outfit and how she just, well, Luke oozes confidence anyway. Well, in fact, they all do, but there was something about Elsa in the made to measures where she just goes, the confidence comes across, and I'm thinking, oh, this is looking really good. This is looking really good. She could do it again, like she did with her the sculptured one from
That's
India
right.
Week,
Yes. Yeah,
and her.
the orange ensemble. Yes.
Absolutely, with the tartan. I think she could
Yeah.
do it again. So actually, it was a really close made to measure at first. So let's go and take a look at them, and I'll just quickly explain to the audience what they had to do. There's all three put together. They had to make a simple evening outfit, but it wasn't just that. Because if you had a pattern, that would have been like what last week was, to make an evening outfit inspired by Chanel.
Yeah.
But this was making an evening outfit, but with no pattern. They had to drape first, and then from that create the pattern. Is that right with draping?
Yeah.
You're not just putting the fabric on and pinning it and going, there's my make. You're draping to work the pattern out, to take it off the mannequin, cut again in your actual fabric and remake. Is that right, Carol?
That's right. When you have a concept, which is something that would be really tricky to just start making a flat pattern, you then just build this concept on the stand. So you take your fabric and you play and you experiment, with your, how do you want things on the bias? Do you want things on the straight? Where do you want your style lines?
Okay.
What's the proportion? What's the volume? You work that all out. You cut away what you don't want. You set on your pleats and your darts. And then when you take it off the stand, you've got the basis for a pattern, but then you have to balance. But it gives you a roadmap to follow to your straight pattern. Now, you don't need a pattern, because if it's just a one-off,
Yeah.
then you arrive at your pattern, and then you might then cut it out of your intended fabric and do the same thing again,
I see.
and then just make it on the stand, and that's it. But if you want to carry it forward into a collection piece, or if it's just so wonderful you want to make it again sometime in the future, then you'd want a pattern.
I get you.
But all these submissions for the final looked like they were intended to be draped. So I'm not sure if, when they have to prepare everything ahead of time, they were given the brief that you're going to have to drape this.
Oh,
Because
I think they would have done, because I think how it works is when you enter the sewing bee and you get picked, you have to, you get told your 10 briefs, regardless of wherever you get to. And they would have been told the 10 briefs, and they would have had to have submitted their ideas, and then you're in. Because I think didn't Luke say a couple of weeks, it might have been last week or the week before, oh, I didn't think I was going to get this far, so I didn't even practice.
yeah, yes, yeah.
So,
But everything had an element of draping about it. So
yeah,
they must have, and I think I think, didn't Pasha say she had a picture of a calico drape of her
yes, yeah.
garment?
So
So did she have a pattern for that? And then when they entered the sewing bee room that day for the final challenge, did they say, okay, everyone, hand your patterns in, you can't use them? I'd be interested to know how that worked out.
yes, could be. Yes, I see what you mean. Yeah. So they've
Yeah,
already
because
draped it and got the pattern beforehand, almost, maybe. Yeah.
yes, exactly. Because Pasha's was really out of her normal the way she worked, and that it completely fell apart for her. Anyway, we can discuss that.
Well, let's go through them individually.
Sure.
Let's go alphabetical order. So let's have a look at Ailsa's first.
Hmm.
There we go. Let's put that one to the top and close that one off. And let's just move that so we can see your name. There we go. So there's Ailsa's, which I have to say, I loved this. I loved it as
Oh
soon
yeah,
as I started seeing the design. I'd wear that.
of course.
Yeah,
Yeah. What a lovely creative take. She's so creative with her ideas,
yeah,
but what a great take on the traditional outfit. She has the plaid,
yeah,
the long draped scarfy bit, and using a kilt buckle to secure it to her asymmetrical waistcoat, which is draped pleated. Um, and it's wonderful with it. That black really sets the tartan off,
doesn't
doesn't it?
it? Yeah.
Um, yeah. So
Uh,
just beautiful. Really love this one.
I I can kind of understand what Patrick was saying on his feedback of this. It was just the black waistcoat bit that he was saying had a few issues for him because the pleats and where they're going and how many of them are. Would you say that's a fair feedback and an analytical? Oh, I can't say it. Analytical feedback.
Analytical.
Yeah.
Yes, it doesn't really fit the body. You kind of obviously the one shoulder works, but then if you look above the sporran bag, it's you've got this kind of circular hole in it,
Yeah.
and you think, well, where does that go?
Yeah.
So it doesn't look like it was really going gracefully under the arm of the shoulderless side. So yeah, it was kind of like just a piece of pleated fabric,
Yeah.
and then that was just put on, and hopefully this will all go together. So it just didn't sit naturally on the body, that the waistcoat. Um, but the color combination was dynamite.
Absolutely. When
Mm.
you look at it there, yeah, I think it maybe if that was slightly different and the pleats and how that was draped, maybe that might have given a higher presence and a battling between the others, specifically Luke's as well. But let's go to Pasha's.
Mhm.
I loved that as she's
Yes.
walking down the catwalk, how it flew open,
Yeah.
that
Oh
high
yeah.
cut on the right thigh there.
Yeah. Well, that's very high.
Yeah.
That's dangerously high, and it doesn't look like the picture she submitted. So
No,
for that, I
no.
just wonder what went wrong, because Tasha's such an organized um, technician, and she's precise in everything she does. But there's always been a very, she's made wise decisions. I don't mean she's played everything safe, but she's done things that she knows she
Yeah.
can do, she knows she can master, and she's had so many wins over these 10 weeks. It seems like she was winning everything, or at least in the top three. So for her then to submit this, it was like that was so unlike her um, skill set that I'm not surprised that this is the result. To be honest, Stuart, because
Yeah, no, I can understand. For me, as a very basic sewer in the dressmaking world, this I'm trying to work out whether this looks easy to do drape wise or difficult. Was this a mammoth thing compared to the other two, or actually, if she had more time, maybe would this have been an achievable thing? Because it looks out of the whole draping thing the most easy thing to drape in a way, and pin and pleat and set. I don't know. What would you say?
I think it's a very, very tricky gown to
Right.
make. Yeah, everything is swirling in a different direction. It all has to be put together and hide a zip. There's no symmetry in it.
Ah, I
It's
see.
it's a very big ask. The And also you can do it on a stand if you have arms. I don't know that a mannequin had an arm.
No, they didn't.
And
No.
that's crucial. That's crucial because you don't know how much fullness to devote to that sleeve.
Ah,
It was just and the results, you see, it's not perky, it's not
yeah,
fitting
yeah.
over the shoulder. There's so many things that seem to not go
Oh,
as
I
intended
see.
in this. Yeah, and then there's a bit of the front of the skirt is missing because I think
Yeah.
she meant for this to just be a slit up the front. Um, I'm wondering if what we're actually seeing, oh, I don't know. I don't even know where her understructure is because she did start with that.
Okay.
Um, but this was just completely out of her, what she normally
Yes.
plans
Yeah. Well,
and executes,
we have to remember, don't we? Which we say they are amateur sewers, and amateur sewers, you make what you like. You don't necessarily make every type of genre in the sewing world, do you? So
No.
and then to come across draping too, whereas an amateur
Yeah.
sewer is probably going to follow patterns, aren't they? I know Susie actually probably would have done very well with this round because she does make her own stuff. She repurposes fabric and stuff. So
Yeah.
so it's just the luck of the draw, isn't it? What challenge you get as an amateur sewer.
Yeah.
And I know Luke, to be fair, over the last couple of weeks, he's had some great challenges that suit his skill set. Where he's like, I've perhaps made that before, or I've dealt with that fabric. So it's just one of
Yeah.
those things, isn't it?
It's just one of those things. But this was so over and above the complexity level that she normally chooses. And
Okay.
I think it was just that this is the final. I'm suddenly going to do something which is fearless. And that was unexpected, really. I mean, it if it worked, it would have
Yes.
been absolutely stunning. That I
Yeah.
think it was just over and above. It just
Yeah.
was too risky. Mm.
But if you're going to go out, you might as well go out in whatever the ball of fire in the final, hey?
Make it fuchsia. Make it amazing. Yeah.
Hot pink, absolutely. Let's have a look at Luke's, which was this concept. I mean, the concept was fabulous too, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I really love this one. And here's where you get something which is complicated, and then you pull out the elastic waist skirt. Why not take the
Absolutely.
pressure off
Yeah,
yourself? And and he backed the his netting ruffles with crinoline. So and that kept the girth of the skirt out
yeah,
and very full at the bottom. He didn't
yeah,
get them all on, but it didn't matter. There's that black and white combination. Looks very evening, really glamorous. And then just that play with the tailoring and the couture and in one outfit. And look how sultry his model is.
yeah.
It's just
It
fantastic.
really works, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. And
that's
that's
go on.
oh, I was just going to say that's just Luke all over the place.
Yes.
So this time he did something which looked fearless, but yet the the level of complexity was
Yeah.
it was doable, right? And even though he didn't practice, the hard part of this was draping the sleeve, and so
Yeah.
he's got some pleats up in the crown there. It's a one piece sleeve, you know, not not all that difficult, but so he was able to be his bold self, his fearless self, but yet do something which was attainable. um,
It's yeah, and
there
I
we
think
are.
I think we all could see as this was developing, and he did again his personality. I should say they're
Yeah.
there. Right? They're there. It's the pronoun. I keep forgetting that. Apologies there.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's all right.
Mhm.
Understandable, and some most are like no problems. When some people struggle with remembering those different pronouns, but
Yes.
they're
Yeah.
very good at understanding that.
Yeah.
But yes, I think when we saw them create this, I think we felt, yeah, Luke's probably got this now. He's got it, and seeing his personality I've done it again. Seeing their personality come out
Yes, yes.
over the last certainly 3 or 4 weeks, they've just seemed to have gone like that.
Oh
He
yeah.
speaks. Oh God, it's so hard, isn't it? Sorry.
Well,
They speak
yes,
so well to the camera.
yes,
Their confidence has been oozing, and it's like I've not
yes.
seen this as much. And
Yeah.
his have you? Oh, I've done it again. Have
Don't
you
worry.
noticed their? It's so hard. Sorry, their links that they've been doing with Patrick or with Kyle. They've been very clever with humour and his sharp wits. It's been
Yes,
wonderful to watch.
yes. I mean, I said, at the beginning that I was so heartened by this because at at the end of the final, what you saw were three people who were saying, "This is me.
Yeah,
This is who I am, and I'm gonna, flip flop things around a bit, but I'm doing it because this is who I am."
yeah,
And they offer up themselves, and this is what's so interesting, tricky, uh, difficult, emotional, challenging, is because when you design for people, when you make for people, you're offering part of yourself in the process. You want desperately for things to work out. You want to please.
yeah.
You want people to like you as well as your make, and admire your techniques. And I really was struck by that because all this was a secret until the final. Then suddenly the doors opened and we were allowed into these people's lives and
Yeah.
who they were, what they were like. I got a tremendous satisfaction out of watching this show, but I felt like I had to wait 9 weeks for it.
That is exactly it. We
Mm.
and I've been really upset about that because I've come away from doing the shows with Ting going, oh, I'm not often this miserable, or I'm not often this upset or disappointed, and I couldn't work out why that wasn't happening. And it's not the sewer's fault at all. It's just the way the
No,
show's
no, no.
produced. Maybe the
Yeah.
time elements, because the beginning, weeks 1 to 4, we're not seeing finished objects enough, and it's the finished objects where you connect with the sewers, and the sewers get to show and bloom, and they weren't getting that. But I think you're right. I think it took, and I've written in my notes, it was Diva Week, which was week 8, when
Yes.
I think we said, oh, we started seeing the
Yes.
personalities come out. They were relaxed, and then suddenly they were just chilled, and we were getting one-liners with Patrick and Esme, and the show just changed, didn't it? But it was.
Yes.
I think it's lost a lot of viewers because of that. Because I think some just maybe not didn't come back as much, and it's just a shame it took that long. Because week 8, 9, and 10 were just fabulous.
Yeah. Oh, well, you want to see people excel, because we know how difficult it is to sign up and show up
Yeah,
for these competition shows. They must take a huge amount out of the
yeah,
participants. Even and I know they build great camaraderie and they friends for life and all of that, but we mustn't forget the pressure that they're under.
yeah.
And though you didn't have that satisfaction all around in the first 7 weeks,
Not
as you
as a
say.
viewer, no, no.
No, no.
And I know we
And
perhaps
then
put them harsh under the microscope more because we're sewers. We want to see more, don't we? That's the thing.
yes, but also we want to call things by the right names. Okay, so we don't want to rely on those phrases. And the one thing I was really disappointed with yet again is at the end you heard, well, you haven't sung that too bad, actually. Well, that's not all that bad. You've done quite a good job. And I thought at that stage of the game,
Yeah,
the contestants deserved better phrasing, better language, accurate critique. And I'm sorry that they can't get that in the final where there is all that pressure. That's a disappointment.
yeah.
That's not fair.
Well, let's move on
Anyway,
to who won, who we know. And here he is, or here they are. I'm sorry.
oh, look at
So
that.
they were the three waiting for I, I think it's Kyle to say
Kyle,
who
yeah.
won, and then
Mm.
we then did see Luke's
Oh,
name get announced, and yeah, it was it. I think many people were like that, but I think people would have cheered actually for any of those three because
either two.
certainly for those last 2 or 3 weeks, we felt for them all, and they had all had such different skills in their own unique skills and their personalities. So
Yeah.
it was a lovely final from that point of view, wasn't it?
It was. And what a great still you've got there.
Yeah,
That was, it's almost, he was a very humble man, isn't
wasn't
he?
he?
Isn't they?
Yeah,
Because uh, he just looks like, who, me?
yeah,
How did this happen? But look how everyone is so great, happy for
yeah.
him. And that's what was so nice. Very healthy a situation in the workroom.
And
Everybody's so eager to
yeah.
cheerlead everybody on, and it's
And
so
as you
healthy.
say, they'll be friends for life. They've gone through a unique experience.
Mm.
They'll come together and they'll have group outings and whatnot, and that's wonderful. I'm kind of jealous of that. That's those friends that you make. What you go through, because you got to remember they're putting themselves up on national television for people like
Yeah,
us,
yeah,
us
yeah,
armchair watchers. Well, I am. You're a pro
yeah,
to watch them and critique them, and
mm,
this is filmed a year ago. They could well
yes,
be watching us and going,
yeah,
oh, that's a bit harsh.
yeah.
Oh, don't agree with that. But
I Yeah, I don't know. I think they would appreciate that we're actually parceling up our language, correctly. And a year from then is now, and they're probably happy sewing without pressure
yeah,
and doing amazing
yeah.
things. Congratulations to all of them.
Absolutely. Well said. Well, there we are. That's another year done, Carol.
Big sigh, Stuart. I heard that.
Oh, we've just got to
Oh,
talk about whether we come back next year now because they are doing another season, aren't they?
yes, so we hear. Yeah,
What?
well, we've got a while to think about it. We got a masterclass to do. We're
Yes.
going to do some more programs in the meantime.
Yeah.
I would really love to do a program with you about knitting. I
Oh,
um I have a chap in the building here, and he's a wonderful knitter, and I would like to sit back and learn something while you and Jamie talk to each other about some of his makes. Would you like to do that?
I would love to do that. And also, can you remember our little chat show that we did? So what? Which was, I think we did it in January when everything was quiet because the sewing bee doesn't come out till April, May, and then we
Oh
have
yeah,
we have a
that's
rest
right.
over
Yeah,
the autumn.
yeah.
But we did that, and I think we did about 7 or 8 shows. Well, suddenly they've come back onto YouTube again. I think the algorithm has
Oh,
picked it up because new people have come on to find it and gone, oh, I've only just seen this. This is great.
oh,
Which is
that's
wonderful because
fantastic. No,
we did it a couple of years ago and it was just like
yeah,
this, wasn't it? We were talking topics. I think we talked
that's it.
about interfacing one time. We talked about wool fabric one time, and people are
Yeah,
now finding those videos, Carol. So isn't that lovely?
that's really nice. I don't know how all this works, algorithms and things like that, but that's rather wonderful. That we'll get more, more
Yeah.
things up, clicks. What do you call it?
Something like the views or
Social
something.
health.
It's great, isn't it?
Something.
And that's the beauty of YouTube because once the
Mm,
content's up there, you it's there forever searchable. And as we know,
mm,
people are learning crafts all the time. So you
yeah.
get someone that comes along and puts in how to sew a pocket, you might come up on one of our sewing bee tutorials, or
Well,
the sew what might come up, and that's it.
Yeah.
You get new people it's like an ebb and flow, because you never know when someone's going to pop that into Google or into YouTube to see that technique. So, and techniques never
that's
die, do they?
wonderful.
They may change. You might
No.
get a new method of doing
Yeah.
something, so we can then make a new video. So perhaps we'll find some time to do a few more of those shows.
Yeah. And that's what I'm just thinking, what you just said about, you watch everything you can, and then you, with your own two hands, you make it your own. So I'd be only too happy to pop up and be part of somebody's research and how to do something, because this is, what I do is one way. Someone else might have a different way.
Absolutely.
And that's
Yeah.
really healthy. And that's what YouTube is so good at, providing.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
well. It's been a pleasure, Carol.
Oh,
Absolute pleasure. And
always,
it's been a
always
pleasure
good.
having you, audience, watch over the 10 weeks. I've been reading your comments. I know, Carol, you've been commenting. I've been so busy, I haven't had a chance to this last week, but we do read them. And when we get time, we do reply to them. It's wonderfully heartwarming to read your comments, hear your journey, seeing what you're doing, because they tell us, don't they, Carol? They're like, I'm doing this, or I've just done that,
Yes.
or I've enjoyed this because you said this. And as I say, some people have just had us on in the background while they're sewing, and that is wonderful. We don't often get the chance to talk. I remember you saying sewing is quite solitary. You're in your sewing room on your own, and you don't often get the chance to
Very
chat geeky like we do. Dive down to talk about which technique and why that technique and all this. So I
Yes.
know many people love having us on in their sewing room, and that's a
Yes.
real privilege, isn't it?
It's a privilege to be part of a bigger conversation. And I have to say a special thanks to you, Stuart, because of this solitary world that you live in, where we're looking into this little bubble, this tiny little space. Um, uh, you you get the conversation out of me then, because I'm not used to this. So I really do enjoy it. But it takes somebody like you who can draw out the conversation from somebody who's spent 8, 10, 12 hours, by themselves listening to, whatever. But the practice of speaking is something that,
Yeah.
craftsmen aren't really that good
Yeah.
at. Some of them are, some of them aren't. But thank you, Stuart,
Oh,
because
you're
so
you're
good at
very
it.
welcome. There we are. So there's thanks all round. So keep an eye on the masterclass information. If you haven't and you're interested, let's just do a quick recap. There's the email, masterclass@ineverlearnedtosew.com. It just registers your interest. You will then get an email later on in the month or in August that explains it all. And then you can choose whether you want to sign up and actually do it. So just, you don't lose anything by just registering, and then you'll get all the information, and then you can go, yeah, that's for me, or no, that's not. So why not do it? If not, we will see you at some point on YouTube, I'm sure, dotted about as time goes. We never know. We might even see, if all's well and all's healthy, we might see you for Series 11 all gathered up in 2025.
How about that?
I know.
Well, in the meantime, congratulations to all the sewers.
Absolutely.
And given us a lot to talk about over 10 weeks. And we hope you're all well and healthy and sewing your brains out.
Wonderful. Love it. Thanks very much, Carol. Thanks, everyone. See you all very, very soon. Bye.